Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. So, I felt like this episode was good for the most part. There was some things that I couldn't quite co-sign, and let's start with some of the stuff I couldn't co-sign with. Lucas and Kate. So, Kate comes over and, Lucas is freaking out. Kate walks in and she's like, yo, I haven't seen, your room looking like this since high school. It's still a mess. I'm just like, bro, listen, from the time that Sammy left to now, you didn't bother to do anything, clean anything, make anything look halfway decent. You honestly think that Sammy wants to come back to that? I mean, I know Sammy is, they call her Hurricane Sammy as a nickname, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to walk into what looks like a damn hurricane. But Kate comes over there. Lucas is still feeling hell guilty. And at some point, he starts talking about. Well, first of all, Kate is like, "Well, why'd you let Sammy leave? You couldn't stop him moving on crutches. She'll sit there and talk to EJ, and EJ." I'm like, and granted, after a while, when Lucas talks some common sense into her, like, you can't keep Sammy from Lucas. I mean, you can't keep Sammy from EJ for long, and they're gonna live in that town. Like, they're gonna run into each other. They have kids together. Them talking to each other, seeing each other is unavoidable. Then, Lucas talks about how he wants to marry Sammy again, and Kate's like, it's not really a good idea right now since you have a lot on your plate. You just fell off the wagon. You're feeling hella guilty. Do you honestly think right now this is the best time to do it? Now, Lucas says something that Kate gets some vibes from, like some Philip vibes. When Lucas is like, listen, I'll marry Sammy, and it'll make me feel better, and it'll make me, because, Kate was like, you don't want to add all that stress to yourself. And Lucas is like, well, she'll help with your stress. She'll help make me feel a bit better, And right then and there, that codependency is something that Kate was like, you don't want to be like your brother. You don't want to sit there and be leaning on her to the point where you lose yourself, you lose your sanity, and you lose your self-worth, Because Kate's like, yo, listen, I'm not saying you gotta, you can't never marry her. It's just, take a minute and chill. You don't want to be like your brother. But then Lucas starts crying, and then, long story short, Kay's like, yeah, okay, cool. You can marry her. You got my blessing and everything. I'm like, no. You were literally on to something when he started exhibiting the same signs that Philip had with Chloe about making him feel like a whole person. No. He starts crying. Sure, okay. On top of the fact that, again, he's having a lot of stress. We don't know where his sobriety is. And he's marrying Sammy, who is high stress in himself. And because he started pulling out a couple of crocodile tears, okay, large crocodile tears, but, because he started crying, you're just like, no, it's fine. You can do it. If anything, that little breakdown right there is a clear sign of why he shouldn't be doing it. But, at the end of the day, you can't sit there and tell your kids how to live their lives. So all you can sit there and do is sit back and hope for the best. Now, I gotta sit there and say my favorite part was actually the Chad and Marlena scene. Well, the Chad and John scene, specifically. I would sit there and say the Chad and John scene. Marlena talking to him, trying to comfort him, trying to sit there and remind him that he's a good dad and, he's doing his best. And even offers to talk to the kids about, their mother dying. Because, Chad is like, I don't think they're really taking it so well. Which, they're like 10 and 9 or 8. How well could they actually take it? Why, she goes in there, John comes out, and John talks to Chad. Now, the one thing that he said, well, he said a couple of things, but, and I like most of them. Well, he didn't say anything that I didn't like. Well, one thing that he said was that he hated when people would sit there and try to identify with him. Like Smith is saying, I know what it's like to lose someone. You know, he really despised it, and I 100% understand that. You know, Chad was like, I understand if you're doing that, you're not doing it out of malice. Because one of the things that John said was that in some sort of way, it's like it feels like you're invalidating their pain and their sadness. But of course, he starts talking about his wife and how she died. And granted, the stories were similar, but they weren't exactly the same for a couple of different reasons. Not just what Chad said was one of the things Chad said was at least at least you got to say goodbye. I did. The biggest thing. I mean, well, granted that is one of the biggest things, but one of the other biggest things is that one was I don't want to say natural, but it was due to sickness. You know, it wasn't due to somebody taking someone else's life, which I feel. I mean, granted, they're both sad. Okay, and one doesn't. One isn't. I don't want to sit there and say one isn't worse than the other because it all depends on someone's feelings and how they feel. But I just, in a lot of ways, I'll just sit there and just come out and say I feel like it's a lot worse. Having your wife killed as opposed to having them taken away because of an illness. Because one could have been prevented if this person didn't do what they did. The other one really couldn't. It was nice talk. And it was here's the thing. When I first started watching this show, I felt like Chad was a dick. Okay, felt like he was a dick. And granted, after a while, I didn't really hate him, but I was never fully. Oh man, I love Chad. He's so great. Yada yada yada. No, I wasn't on that train either. I was just more on the train of, eh. It was sort of like Gabby. In the beginning, Gabby got my damn nerves. I feel like now I'm used to her. So her antics, her things that come out of her mouth, her whole personality doesn't bother me anymore. But it used to. Allie still, that girl still pisses me off. Chad, seeing this side of Chad and having them be like, listen, the kids can stay, you can stay. You're definitely seeing a more humbled, um, Chad, more vulnerable and humble, Chad. And it's definitely interesting. It's definitely I don't want to say a welcome change or anything like that because it shouldn't have took someone dying for that to happen, but it is it is a unique side to him that it's nice to see. Even if it unfortunately it comes at a cost of his wife's death. Oh, and also the children are still not really taking it well. But again, they're children, so I don't really understand what anyone expected Marlena to do to sit there and talk to them the second time, as opposed to Chad talking to them the first time. Now, of course, EJ and Belle are about to go upstairs and have sex again, but Sammy comes over and Sammy's like, "Hey, I need you to sign those divorce papers like now." Well, first she walks in, she's like, "What are you doing here?" And after she finds out what's going on with Abby and everything like that, I don't know what kind of beef they had, but as a mother, she can sympathize with the kids and everything like that. So after that's going on, after finding out about Sean and the baby and her staying there and the reason why she had to stay there, all that stuff, she's like, "All right, cool. So listen, I want those divorce papers signed. I want them now." And, at first AJ's like, what's the rush? I mean, I have a lot of stuff on my plate, Abby's murder and, it's just a lot going on. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Just sign the damn papers. Like, why are you dragging this out for? Like, what are you doing? I mean, I get it, Abby's definitely anything like that, but just is. That's it. Like, what's the issue? You can tell that Bella just looks like, uh, what's, bro, what's the problem? Um, they go back and forth as far as, you really kidnapped me, you kidnapped me, blah, 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 blah. You did it, and you did it because I said you did it, and that's how I feel, so you did it. Okay, great talk, Sammy. So at that point, goes back to Lucas, goes back to him, and he's just like, fine, I signed it, that's it. All right, you can go. So Sammy says something, and Sammy starts walking towards the door. They both just kind of stand there, like if they're dumbfounded or something, because I think Sammy says something to Bella. Meanwhile, she is still hobbling towards the door. She stands there and she stops and she's like, "Oh, that's fine. I can get the door. I mean, I'm on crutches, whatever, but it's cool. Why don't y'all two just, you look tired. You could just kind of just chill out. But you will be closing the door because I'm not going to do that." So after that, AJ's like, "So, where were we?" This is sort of the same thing that he did with Nicole a little bit. I was like, bro. And Ben was like, no. Like, what? Y'all just need to tell me my big sister didn't just, like, kind of spoil our little whatever was going on. Like, didn't just spoil the mood. Like, seriously, she literally came in here like sour milk. And, no. So EJ has that look on his face, that dumbfounded look on his face, like, I don't understand what's the problem. Besides the fact that you hesitated on signing the papers, but you were so willing to sit there and take her upstairs. I mean, granted, she was also willing, she also wanted him to go up there. But my point is, like, you're just so willing to sit there and take her upstairs and you're dragging out this divorce because why? Again, you know, everyone's sitting there talking about how they love EJ and Bella being together. Like, maybe if you actually took 5 seconds to actually just process everything that's going on, instead of the minute that y'all two get close enough, y'all just want to sit there and practically start dry humping each other. How about y'all just kind of just take a chill? Just a 5 minute rest. And let Bella figure out her feelings with Sean. And you figure out your feelings with Sammy. Because he's all like, oh, she's a headache, and she's Lucas's headache now. So we're worried. Nah, bro. You might want to kind of sit this one out or rub one out. I don't know. You need to do something because whatever you think you're about to sit there and do with her, yeah, she ain't in the mood anymore. So that ship has sailed. So just pick a hand. I don't really care. Um. Oh, Rafe and Nicole. She comes over to catch up to talk about the wedding, talk about Lonnie's confession, which again, I do want to sit there. I do want to sit there and agree with DC Sanctuary about the fact that this wasn't a situation where she came in there and shot him in cold blood. I mean, he's literally about to put his hands on Paulina again. You know, your dad is on the floor. Paulina is still close to this guy. I feel like you could sit there and make a justifiable argument of, I had to sit there and do it to protect her life. Um, Now I will sit there and say this because I know DC Soap Sanctuary does not like spoilers, so I'm going to sit there and spoil some stuff for you. Well, I'm going to sit there and spoil it, so you might want to kind of stop and maybe pick it up a little bit after. I'm assuming that Lonnie wants to leave. Um, when I was going to read one article, it said that she was leaving. I'm assuming this probably might be her choice. And also, well, Eli's leaving too, as the rumor mill goes. I don't know. I didn't exactly fact check these things. It's just an article that came on Instagram. But he's leaving too. So anyway, they talk about that, they catch up, and then at some point, Nicole talks about how she ate food at the Brady pub, and at first Rafe was like, "Oh, you mean by yourself?" And Nicole was like, "No, with Kate and Rome and Eric." And at that point, you can just tell, like, Rafe seemed like he was bothered by that. Now, at some point, Nicole's like, "Listen, I get it. You're working a lot. You're trying to you got a lot of pressure to sit there and try to solve this case. I don't want you going through a lot of trouble with this wedding. I mean, I still want to get married to you. I just don't want you to feel like you gotta, go through hoops and everything like that." And Rafe was like, "You still want to get married, right?" Now, of course, Eric is sitting there talking to Roman, and Roman is pretty much like, "Listen, I don't want to sit there and be Kate, but I feel like I need to be Kate. What's going on with you and Nicole? You got a lot of time. I get you were upset. You had a lot of time, and if you want to be with her, you should be with her." And Eric was like, "No, because she's moved on and she's happy, and I don't want to sit there and ruin that. And they're gonna get married." And Rome's like, "Yeah, well, they didn't get married yet, so if you want to do something, you should probably do it." Next thing you know, Eric is there waiting, I guess, at the apartment. Nicole gets there. Nicole's like, "Hey, listen, this isn't exactly a good time." Because Eric is like, "I want to talk to you." And Nicole's like, "Yeah, I wish you would have called because this is not a good time." Rafe comes by, and Rafe is like, he has a bottle of champagne. Eric is like, "What's going on?" "We're celebrating. We got married. We got a quickie marriage because for some odd reason this was a good idea." I felt like Nicole just did it to appease Rafe because Rafe was probably feeling like she's having doubts since Eric is back. Now I know they're gonna probably sit there and say, "Oh, we did it under the jest of, well, Rafe is working so hard and his investigation and yada yada yada." This is gonna make it a lot worse when she wound up leaving him for Eric. And you know what? I'm not gonna feel bad for Rafe at all because of Ava. Yeah. So they got the little quickie marriage, and the fact that when Eric was like married, like when he said it twice, it was like you knew he was bothered as hell. He was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, congratulations," and yeah. And he walks off and just awkwardly walk, and you can tell Nicole, she knows that Eric is bothered by that, but she kisses Rafe anyway. And here's the thing, Rafe is just as responsible for whatever mess that's about to happen as well because he felt some sort of way when Eric decided to stay. When he came back, he decided to stay, and he already felt like she was having doubts. So what a perfect idea than to sit there and just get married at the courthouse real quick. Like he wanted to make sure that he put it, he locked that down. He put a ring on that finger, and that was it. And everything is good now because I married her and I won, and I don't have to sit there and worry anymore. I can sit there and turn my back and know that that ring is still on her finger. I feel like, and I know that I'm saying it in a very cartoonish way, but I feel like it's not really that far from how Rafe is feeling. And Cole just wants to sit there and appease him, and probably sit there and shut out the voices that are sitting there saying that she wants to sit there and be with Eric. So, yeah, I feel like they're both going to lose, but, well, let's be honest, I feel like only one was going to lose, and I feel like that person deserves to lose. I'm not going to feel bad for him. Yeah, I feel like that's about it. I really do. So with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. See you in the next video.